Creating consistent characters with AI is super easy when you know how. There are multiple different ways to achieve character consistency. I want to show you one technique that uses agents to streamline consistency based on one single start frame. With Agent One from invideo, you can create consistent characters and entire cinematic sequences without making a character sheet or generating storyboard images for every single shot. Why do so many AI films still look like animated storyboards and not like a video? The individual images may look great, but somehow every shot feels disconnected. And the problem is consistency. So the character changes, the location changes, the lighting changes, and the final video feels more like a collection of generated images than an actual film scene. In the age of AI, the rules are not the same anymore. It's totally okay to rethink production pipelines, even if one client or another might be upset because it skips over some of their beloved processes. That's just how it goes. And of course, storyboards and character sheets can be extremely useful when working with a bigger team, clients, agencies, and other stakeholders. But if you work alone, you don't always need them. I'm Simon, I'm a full-time AI filmmaker and director, and I create real films and commercials with generative AI. If you're interested in AI filmmaking, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. So let's dive right into it. But first things first, before you generate anything, you need to know what kind of visual style you're looking for. Do you want something very glossy like a commercial? Or do you want something that feels more natural and imperfect and documentary-like? Personally, I often prefer a more documentary approach. But whatever style you choose, some basic knowledge about lighting, lenses, and cameras will help you a lot. Because all of this is information that you can give to your agent. Let's start with lighting. Natural light may look random, but control is extremely important. In this example, you can see that we have light coming from the window as the only light source in this image. And it feels supernatural because it is. So instead of simply prompting natural light, I would describe it as soft directional daylight coming through a window, realistic shadows, and a subtle backlight around the character. This already gives the model much more useful information. And the next thing I think about is lensing. A medium lens, something around 50mm look, feels quite natural and neutral. It's similar to the lens I'm using right now to record this tutorial. And a wider lens puts the camera closer to the action. It feels more dynamic, more immersive. And a longer telephoto lens creates more distance. It feels observational, like somebody is secretly watching the scene. I also like to mention the type of camera I want to simulate. Maybe it's a handheld documentary camera, or maybe it's a very polished digital cinema camera, like an Arri Alexa or a RED, or maybe something that looks like an old consumer camcorder. So you don't always need to name a specific camera model. The important thing is to describe how the camera should feel. Once I know this visual language, generating the scene becomes much easier. But here's the thing, I actually generate far fewer still images than most people probably expect. Most of the time, I create only one strong starting image where I lock like everything into it. The character, the location, the lighting, the camera, props, and I call this the base image. The base image gives Agent One the visual DNA of the sequence. But before I generate these shots, I still need to pre-visualize the action. Where's the character standing? What is the character doing? Where's the camera? What can we actually see through the lens? Is the camera moving? What happens at the beginning of the shot and what happens at the end? Then you write all of this down. Everything you don't define, the AI will define for you. And sometimes that creates amazing surprises, but sometimes it's also creating complete nonsense. So the more clearly you describe the scene, the more control you have. And this is where Agent One comes in extremely handy. So how to do it? You just create a new project, I name it Dieter, and then you go to the right side where you can create agents. You create a new agent, I name him Amazing Dieter Scenes Agent, and I tell him that he's responsible for the scenes of Dieter. Then the goal is to give Agent One the context it needs to streamline it. I just drag and drop my base frame and tell Agent One, this is my base frame. Use it for all video generation. And I'm also giving Agent One my base prompt and I tell it, this is my base prompt. use this exact prompt, just change elements of it for all of the generations. And then I tell Agent One, all generations should be made with Seedance 2.0, 15 seconds with this start frame. And then I give Agent One my full voiceover script, so it has it for its context. And then I tell Agent One, now you know everything you need and use these informations to create the scenes for my film. And the fun part is Agent One now completely understands everything it needs, and from now on you can just work with it like someone of your team that you just briefed. And it can also continue your sequence into completely different spaces. Agent One already understands lighting, the wardrobe, location, overall style, everything. So you're not starting from zero with each generation. Agent One has context. And that's the power of Agent One. And from now on, I can simply tell Agent One the overall scene and create it in exactly the style that I want. Now watch this. I'm writing, Dieter is eating ice cream in front of a yellow Lamborghini Gallardo. But generating the shots is only one part of the process. Editing is still absolutely essential. Actually, I'm starting editing at the same time I'm generating. I don't wait until I have generated the entire sequence. I'm putting the first shots directly into my timeline to see what is missing. Maybe I need a reaction shot, or maybe a detail shot, maybe a completely different camera angle, or a short cutaway to hide a continuity problem. The edit tells me what I need to generate next. And speaking of editing, one of my favorite features in Agent One is that it numbers every generation and remembers the context of what you were trying to create. Once you have generated 20, 30 or 100 generations, it becomes incredibly difficult to remember which image, camera movement or prompt you like. Maybe I like the starting frame from the second image of generation 12, but I prefer the movement of generation 18. Or maybe I like the character from one generation, but the action from another. So I'm just scrolling through the feed and telling my agent, I like 17.2, but I want the scene to be rainy. And voila, Agent One just grabs the relevant images and prompts directly from the existing context. So it feels less like using an isolated generation tool and more like working with an assistant that remembers your previous decisions. But it still doesn't replace directing. You still need to know what the scene is about, you still need taste, you still need to decide what you want to cut in and what not, what the character is doing and why every shot exists. Tools come and go, but your vision is the real compass. It's your intention and your goal. So have fun experimenting. Let me know in the comments how you are using Agent One, and subscribe if you want to see more practical AI filmmaking workflows. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.